The space between the twin moons of Sereth 4 shimmered with blue light. There, floating in the calm void, was Outpost Erethis, a research hub run by dozens of alien species studying human biology for the first time. Among them was Lieutenant Evan Reed, the only human engineer ever assigned there. He had arrived 3 months ago, quiet and disciplined. A man who fixed machines and avoided the political games of alien science councils. To the others, he was fascinating. To Dr. Nira Vale, a young alien biologist with luminous skin and silver eyes, he was a mystery wrapped in warmth. Her species, the Vailari, reproduced by merging energy fields, not through physical contact. So when she first saw a human's physical body react to touch, heat, shiver, and heartbeat, she was both horrified and enchanted. One late cycle, she invited Evan to her lab. The corridors were dim, the hum of plasma engines echoing softly. "Human Reed," she said in her musical tone, "I want to understand your reaction system purely for research." Evan smiled politely. "As long as it's safe, Doc." She nodded. Lifting a thin metallic wand glowing with light, she measured his pulse, temperature, and energy output. Everything remained calm until she accidentally brushed his hand. Her touch was cool, gentle, curious, and then the scanner beeped wildly. Evan tensed, pulling his hand back, his face flushing red. Dr. Nira froze, confused. "Your system spiked." Heartbeat doubled, heat increased. Muscles stiffened, she said softly. "What did I trigger?" Evan looked embarrassed, rubbing his neck. "Nothing serious, just reflex." She tilted her head, her glowing hair shifting colors. "Reflex to what?" He hesitated. "To contact, it's natural for humans. But contact is neutral," she said, genuinely puzzled. "In our culture, we touch to share information, not emotion." Evan exhaled slowly. "For us, it's different." Her silver eyes studied him closer. The human looked uncomfortable, but his warmth fascinated her more than any data. She gently extended her hand again. "May I test once more?" Before he could answer, her fingers brushed his skin. The monitor screamed in alarm tones, showing rapid spikes. "Stop, please," Evan said. Stepping back, her brow furrowed. "I didn't mean harm." He shook his head, voice tense. "I know. But that's not just science for us." Dr. Nira looked at the trembling data screen. "It's emotion," she whispered, realizing for the first time that her experiment had touched something far deeper. The next morning, the lab corridors buzzed with whispers. "Did you hear what the human did?" One alien murmured, "No. It was the Vailari who provoked it," another replied. By noon, the entire outpost knew. The human reacted to touch. When Nira entered the cafeteria, conversation stopped. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward her, and the human sitting silently at the corner table. Evan avoided her gaze. She sat across from him anyway, whispering, "I didn't mean to embarrass you," he sighed. "You didn't, Doc, just opened a door that no one expected." Outside the viewport, the stars glowed quietly. Two beings from different worlds sat in awkward silence. Neither understood the full meaning of what had happened, but both felt something shift, something that no scientific report could ever measure. And somewhere deep in Outpost Erethis, an alarm blinked. Unauthorized emotional resonance detected. Misunderstandings multiply, the next rotation on Outpost. Erethis felt heavier than usual. Every corridor carried whispers. Every alien glance lingered a second too long. The story of the human reaction had spread faster than any plasma signal. Even the automated drones seemed to pause when Evan walked by. Dr. Niraval kept replaying the data in her mind. Her scanner showed something no other species ever recorded. A reaction not from pain, fear, or illness, but from emotion. She sat in her lab staring at the graphs, trying to understand what emotion could cause such chaos in a human body. When Evan entered, she straightened immediately. "Lieutenant Reed," she said softly, "I apologize for yesterday." He smiled politely, tired but calm. "It's fine, Doc. Just a misunderstanding." "Yet it spread through the entire station," she said, her tone troubled. He shrugged. "That's how gossip travels faster than light." A silence settled between them. She looked at him as if he were a living equation. "You said humans react to contact," she began. "Is it fear?" He shook his head. "No, it's connection." "Connection," she repeated the word like a foreign code. "Between two beings," Evan explained. "Sometimes unplanned, sometimes powerful." Her eyes glimmered faintly. "We don't have that. We merge energy for purpose, not for emotion." That's the difference, Doc, he said gently. Humans can't separate science and feeling. She nodded slowly, curiosity battling confusion. Moments later, the door slid open with a hiss. 3 members of the Station Ethics Council entered, their robes shimmering under sterile light. Dr. Nira Vial, the tallest said. We received reports of an unsanctioned emotional reaction experiment. Nira's throat tightened. It wasn't an experiment, it was an accident. An accident that affected a human's vital functions, the elder replied coldly. Evan stepped forward. It wasn't her fault. I agreed to the scan. The council exchanged glances. Humans are unpredictable, one whispered. Their biology dangerous, Nira's voice rose. He is not dangerous, he is different. The elder narrowed his eyes. You are too close to your subject, Doctor. With that, they left. The room filled only with the low hum of tension. Evan leaned against the counter, exhaling. They're going to watch us now, he said quietly. I know, she whispered. And they don't understand either of us. That night, Nira sat alone, her bioluminescent fingers glowing faintly blue as she opened her personal log. She spoke softly into the recorder. Today I witnessed something no Vailari ever has. A pulse that changes with emotion. A body that responds to meaning, not command. She hesitated, and when he looked at me, I felt something echo across the station. In his quarters, Evan tried to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes, he remembered her cool touch and curious voice. He laughed to himself. I'm losing it, getting attached to a scientist who treats feelings like data. Still, he couldn't shake the image of her eyes reflecting starlight. By the next morning, rumors turned into fear. A xenobiologist suggested isolating the human until they knew if his reaction was contagious. Another proposed removing Nira from human contact altogether. Evan was called for questioning. He walked through the metallic corridors while voices whispered behind glass panels. Human biology is unstable, someone murmured. Emotions are chemical threats, another added. In the council chamber, the elder spoke coldly. Lieutenant, your presence has caused imbalance. You will limit interaction with Vailari personnel. Evan met his gaze steadily. With respect, sir, I was invited here for cooperation, not isolation. Then cooperate in silence, the elder replied. Dismissing him, as he left, he caught sight of Nira standing outside the door. She looked small, fragile even. Evan, she whispered, they think I broke you. He smiled faintly. Then let's show them we're both unbroken. That night. In secret, she returned to the lab. The station was quiet. Stars beyond the viewport burning cold. Nira touched the same scanner that had started everything. I must know, she murmured. If it was real. Her hand hovered over the surface as she remembered his warmth. She pressed her palm to the memory data and whispered, What are humans made of? The console flickered, reading emotional residue. It registered an unknown waveform, half human, half Vailari. The system labeled it Resonance Type HV, and quietly deep inside Outpost Erethus, a file began to auto-transmit to the Galactic Central Database. Subject, Emotional Cross-Species Reaction. Potential new evolutionary link. But no one saw the warning flashing below. Data breach detected someone else was watching, and they were very interested in what happened between a human and a curious alien. Cultural differences. The following rotation brought tension that hung like static in the air. Dr. Nira Vial found her access to the human's biometric data temporarily restricted. The council feared that further study would agitate cross-species instability. Yet curiosity burned in her like starlight trapped beneath skin. She couldn't unsee the way the human's warmth had reacted to her touch, or the way her own mind now replayed that heartbeat again and again. Evan returned to work repairing conduits in Sector 7, trying to ignore the constant glances from alien technicians. When he passed, conversations hushed. They had started calling him the reactive one. Some feared his species hid secret weapons in their own bodies. Others whispered that humans used emotions as manipulation tools. Evan ignored them, focusing on the rhythmic hum of machinery, the one sound that didn't judge him that evening. Nira visited him under the excuse of checking the energy relays. He was crouched under a maintenance panel, sweat glistening under the faint red lights. You shouldn't be here, he said without looking up. She folded her arms, glowing softly in the dark. Neither should you, according to the council. He smiled. Then we're both rebels now. She crouched beside him, her eyes following the way his hands worked with the cables. Your skin changes color when you exert effort, she observed. He chuckled. That's called flushing. Normal for humans. She tilted her head. It's inefficient. Showing internal states to others. Evan wiped his hands. Maybe, but it helps others know we care. That word, care, echoed through her mind. In Valari culture, efficiency ruled emotion. Logic replaced empathy. Her people didn't care, they calculated. But every time she spoke to Evan, something inside her shifted away from equations toward something undefined. Evan, she asked softly, why does your species allow emotion to guide decisions when it leads to chaos? He leaned back, looking through the transparent bulkhead at the starfield beyond. Because chaos is how we find meaning, he said. Without emotion, we just exist, not live. She stared at him silently, her mind struggling to compute what her heart already knew. The next morning, she presented her findings to her superior. I've discovered that human responses are linked not just to stimuli, but to perception of connection, she explained. Her superior frowned. You are describing sentiment. Doctor, not science. With humans, sentiment is science, she insisted. The elder's eyes darkened. Be cautious, Nira. Curiosity can become contamination. Hours later, she found a message waiting in her lab's console. Encrypted, unsigned, it read, We know what you found. Do not share it. The human's reaction threatens our control. Her fingers trembled. She deleted the message instantly, but the fear lingered. Meanwhile, Evan received an unexpected summon from the outpost commander. Lieutenant Reed, the commander said sternly, you are to undergo an isolation scan. Standard procedure, Evan frowned. To check if I'm contagious? The commander didn't reply. Instead, a cold light filled the chamber, and scanners began mapping every neural pulse in his body. For a moment, he felt a pull, like something tugging at his very essence. The machine beeped, flashing red. Emotional resonance detected, linked entity, Dr. Nira Vail. Guards exchanged worried glances. The commander's voice tightened. So it's true. A connection. They escorted him out quietly, but the whispers already started again. The human infected her with emotion. They share a resonance bond. That night, Nira was locked out of her lab, her access revoked without explanation. Panic flooded her chest, a feeling her kind rarely experienced. She searched every system for Evan's location, but his ID signal was gone. Where did they take him? She whispered, a voice behind her replied. To Isolation Deck 9. She turned to find Dr. Keller, an older Valari scientist known for opposing human integration. Release him, she demanded. Keller smiled thinly. You forget, Doctor. Curiosity created this problem. Logic will fix it. Her eyes glowed bright with fury. Logic can't erase what's been awakened. He turned away. Perhaps, but the council will try. As the metallic doors closed, Nira made a choice her people would call irrational. She slipped into the shadowed maintenance tunnels, using stolen access codes Evan once showed her. She followed the faint pulse of his signal through the silent decks until she reached the cold glass chamber of Isolation 9. There, under white lights, Evan sat restrained, electrodes across his chest, his eyes opened as she entered. Weak but steady. Nira, he whispered. They think we're dangerous. She stepped forward, voice trembling. Maybe we are, but not to each other. Alarms began to flash red. Security drones powered up. She grabbed his arm, electricity crackling where skin met energy. The sensors went wild again, showing impossible readings. Human Valari energy fusion, 92% compatibility. And as they stood together, surrounded by blaring alarms, Nira realized something no science could explain. The emotion she once feared had now become her greatest strength. Whispers across the station. The alarms howled across Outpost Erethus, echoing through every steel corridor like the cry of a dying star. Security drones rushed toward Isolation Deck 9, red lights flashing as mechanical voices repeated. Containment breach detected. Dr. Nira Vail's hand still touched Evan's. Their energy fields pulsing together in rhythm, human heat merging with alien light. For one breathtaking second, both of them felt it. A harmony between two living systems that should never have connected. Then the chamber doors burst open. Armed guards surrounded them, plasma rifles humming. Step away from the subject, the officer shouted, his voice sharp and afraid. Nira spread her glowing arms before Evan. He is not a subject. He is alive. Her energy shimmered bright white, deflecting the first shock blast. The station shook as warning sirens deepened in pitch. They were separated within minutes. Evan dragged back toward the detention wing. Neera escorted to the council hall under heavy guard. Her steps were silent, but her mind screamed louder than the sirens. Inside the council chamber, high beneath the transparent dome, the elders stared down from their levitating seats. The eldest one spoke coldly. "Dr. Vale, you have created resonance instability between two species." "It was not instability," she argued. "It was connection." "Connection," another elder sneered. "You risked contamination of Vylari essence." Her voice hardened. "Then perhaps our essence was incomplete." The chamber fell into silence. For the first time in her life, she felt proud of being defiant. The elder's eyes glowed. "Your access is revoked. Your research terminated." Guards approached, but before they reached her, a flicker of blue light appeared on the central hollow screen. It was a transmission. Encrypted, unauthorized lines of code scrolled fast, forming words in both human and Vylari script. "Resonance protocol online. Cross-species energy integration detected. Stabilization required." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Someone whispered, "It's evolving on its own." Meanwhile, deep inside the isolation deck, Evan fought against the restraints. He could feel something inside him, an energy that didn't belong to humans, pulsing in his veins like liquid light. The machines around him flickered as his heartbeat synced with the resonance frequency. He whispered her name, Neera, and the walls trembled as though they heard him. Back in the council hall, the screens exploded into static, replaced by Neera's own recorded logs. Her voice played aloud for everyone. "Humans react not from fear but connection. Emotion is their evolution." The words rippled through the assembly like thunder. Every alien eye turned toward her. Some in awe, some in horror. One elder rose slowly. "You are no longer a scientist, Neera Vael. You are a heretic." She met his gaze without flinching. "Then let this heresy save you." The station shook again, massive tremors this time, not alarms. Sensors flashed warnings. Resonance field expanding. Origin isolation deck 9. The elders turned pale. "What have you done to the human?" She smiled faintly. "Nothing, I think he's finally understanding us." Moments later, the entire deck flooded with radiant blue light. Power conduits overloaded, systems rebooted, and for a few seconds gravity failed across the outpost. Every being felt something impossible. Warmth, emotion, empathy, spreading like a soft wave through the air. Aliens who had never cried before felt tears for the first time. Drones halted their patrols as if listening to invisible music. The resonance was rewriting the station's energy field, linking emotion to power. In the chaos, Neera escaped the council chamber, guided only by the echo of Evan's heartbeat in her mind. She ran through dark corridors filled with floating dust and flickering lights. Her body glowed brighter with every step. Following that pulse, when she reached the isolation deck, the door slid open by itself. Evan stood in the center of the room, free, surrounded by swirling light like a living storm. His eyes shone silver now, the color of her species. "Neera," he whispered, "I can feel everything." She stepped closer, trembling. "Then feel this." She placed her hand over his heart. The storm calmed. Their energies aligned perfectly, forming a glowing sphere that expanded outward. The resonance stabilized, filling the station with calm blue light. Systems rebooted automatically. Alarms stopped, silence fell. From the speaker grids, the ship's AI voice spoke softly. Resonance stabilized. Human Vylari connection integrated successfully. The Council's last order to arrest them never reached the guards. Every communication system was overridden by the same phrase. Emotional unity achieved. Outside the viewport, twin moons shimmered over the quiet planet below. Neera looked at Evan, her voice barely above a whisper. "They will never see us the same again." He smiled. "Maybe that's a good thing." And far across the galaxy, unknown observers watched the signal spreading from Outpost Erethus. Their message crackled across hidden frequencies. "The humans have done it again. They've changed the rules of the universe." The test silence fell across Outpost Erethus like the calm after a storm. The blue glow faded from the walls, leaving behind only the soft hum of restored power. But the station was no longer the same. Something invisible lingered in the air. A pulse, gentle but alive. breathing through the metal corridors like a heartbeat shared by every species. For a few precious hours, peace reigned. Evan and Nira stood together on the observation deck. Staring out at the twin moons of Serath 4, she spoke first, her voice trembling. "Do you feel that, the stillness?" He nodded. "It's not stillness, Doc, it's balance." Her silver eyes softened. "Our resonance has changed the station's frequency." He smiled faintly. "Guess we made history." But history never sleeps for long. The comm was broken when a deep rumble echoed through the hull, followed by a message from the central comm system. "Incoming vessel, Galactic Council Cruiser Eminence, Authority Code Delta." Nira's face paled. "The Council is here," she whispered. Evan frowned. "That's the big one, right?" "The biggest," she replied, "and they don't come to congratulate." Within hours, the Eminence docked with the station. Its black hull absorbed light, its engines silent and cold. From its docking bay emerged 12 Council representatives, their armor reflecting starlight, their expressions carved from authority itself. They spoke not to the station crew, but straight into the comms. "Dr. Nira Vael and Human Lieutenant Evan Reed will be taken for examination." They were escorted to the Council's mobile tribunal chamber, a vast circular hall of crystal and steel. Humming with restrained energy, Evan looked around, muttering, "They really like drama." Nira didn't reply, her hands clasped tightly together. Glowing faintly from stress, the Grand Counselor, an ancient being of translucent light, rose from his seat. "Dr. Vale," he said, "you have performed unauthorized interspecies resonance." She lifted her chin. "It was not unauthorized, it was unexpected." "Unexpected events lead to extinction," he replied coldly. "Or evolution," she countered, her voice steady. The Grand Counselor turned his attention to Evan. "Human Reed, you carry Vailari energy in your system. Explain this contamination." Evan met his glowing eyes. "Contamination? I'd call it connection." Whispers rippled through the chamber like electric rain. The Counselor raised a hand, silencing all. "Then we shall test your claim," he declared. A massive sphere descended from the ceiling, filled with liquid light. "This is the resonance matrix," he said. "It reveals truth through energy alignment." Evan and Nira exchanged a glance. He sighed. "Always wanted to be part of a magic show," she whispered back. "Don't joke, it can kill us." They stepped inside the sphere. Instantly their bodies floated in weightless light, energy patterns swirling around them. Sensors began mapping their molecular vibrations. The Counselor's voice echoed, "If your connection is false, your forms will collapse." Nira closed her eyes. Reaching for Evan's hand, their fingers met. And light exploded for a moment. The hall filled with a blinding radiance, every sensor overloaded. Every alien shielded their eyes when the light dimmed. The readings on the console were unlike anything seen before. Human Vailari resonance stable. Shared conscious link. Established. Gasps spread through the chamber. One scientist whispered, "They are syncing thoughts." Inside the sphere, Evan heard her voice, not through ears, but directly inside his mind. "Can you hear me?" she asked silently. He smiled inside the light. "Yeah, Doc." Loud and clear, her pulse raced. "They wanted proof. Now they have it. And they can't unsee it," he replied. The Counselor stood frozen, unreadable. "This connection defies physics," he said softly. Evan shrugged. "So did fire once. Until someone touched it." Nira's voice trembled. "You fear what you cannot measure. But maybe this is what the galaxy needs." The hall erupted in arguments. Voices rising in panic and awe, some cried, "This is heresy," others whispered, "This is evolution." The energy field dissolved, releasing them gently to the floor. Nira's knees buckled and Evan caught her. Her skin flickered weakly, light fading. He looked up at the Council, shouting, "She needs help." But no one moved. Mesmerized by the readings then, the Matrix emitted one final pulse, projecting their merged energy signature into space. The holographic wave expanded outward, reaching nearby systems. Every connected beacon repeated the same message across the stars. Resonance confirmed, humanity and Vailari compatible. The Grand Counselor turned slowly toward his advisors. "Seal the transmission," he ordered, but it was too late. The signal had already spread beyond recall, across a dozen worlds. Alien scientists stared in disbelief as data arrived. Humans, emotion as energy, unifying frequency detected. Back in the tribunal hall, Nira's voice returned, weak but clear. "Evan," she whispered, We passed the test. He smiled tiredly, holding her close. Then the galaxy just learned how to feel. And far beyond Erethus, unseen watchers in the void spoke through encrypted frequencies. Initiate observation phase 2. Humanity has crossed the resonance threshold, alliance or expulsion. The message that began inside Outpost Erethus traveled faster than light, across hundreds of communication relays, through wormhole channels and military networks. It reached every major power in the galaxy within hours. The impossible truth now stood naked before them. A human and a Velari had merged resonance. The galaxy trembled. Some called it hope. Others called it heresy. But everyone knew one thing. Nothing would ever be the same again. Inside the tribunal chamber aboard the Council cruiser Eminence, tension crackled like storm energy. Hollow screens flashed reports from planetary governments demanding explanation. The Grand Counselor paced slowly. The glow of his form dimmed in unease. He turned toward Nira and Evan, who stood at the center. Still under guard but unafraid because of you, he said coldly. Civilizations demand answers. Evan folded his arms, calm but steady. Then tell them the truth. The truth, the counselor echoed bitterly. That a mistake of curiosity created a living bridge between species. Nira stepped forward. Her voice firm. Not a mistake, an evolution. Her words rippled through the hall like quiet thunder. Another counselor leaned forward. If this resonance spreads, it could unite or destroy us all, Evan replied. That's always been the choice, hasn't it? A low murmur filled the chamber. Some nodded in agreement, others glared with fear. The council ordered a final assessment, a test to decide whether the resonance bond was a threat or a gift. They were taken to the core of the ship, the heart reactor. It powered the entire cruiser, a living sun trapped inside metal. If their connection could stabilize the unstable reactor, they would live. If not, both would perish. Nira looked at the raging vortex of plasma behind the containment glass. Her voice shook. If we fail, the ship explodes. Evan smiled faintly. Then let's not fail. They stepped into the reactor chamber, bathed in golden light, sensors attached to their temples. Their hands linked again, the computer voice announced. Resonance synchronization sequence initiated. Instantly, the reactor began to pulse faster. Energy flared violently, shaking the deck. Guards shouted from outside, they can't control it. But inside, Evan whispered, Nira, listen to me, focus on my heartbeat. Her eyes closed. Her light dimmed, then steadied. I hear it, she said softly. Now let it guide you, he replied. Their energy fields intertwined once more. Two beings, one emotion. The reactor's violent rhythm began to smooth. The roaring plasma turned from gold to deep blue. Every console lit green outside the glass. The counselors stared in disbelief. Containment stable, the AI announced. Power output increased by 300%. They had done what no technology ever could. They stabilized chaos with emotion when they stepped out. The hall erupted in stunned silence. Nira's voice was calm. You wanted proof? Now you have it? The Grand Counselor's glow flickered uncertainly. For millennia we have ruled through logic, he said slowly. And yet two flawed beings achieved what our perfection could not. Evan looked him in the eye. Maybe perfection isn't the goal. The council withdrew into private deliberation. Outside, hundreds of alien delegates filled the station halls. Waiting for the verdict, some held signs glowing with light. Unite the resonance, others shouted. Contain the human. Fear and hope walked side by side. Hours later, the counselors returned. The Grand Counselor spoke with measured gravity. After review, the Galactic Council acknowledges the resonance is real. But, he continued, his tone cold again, we cannot control what we do not understand. His words sliced the air. You will be exiled from council space, he said. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Nira's heart sank. Exile? Evan tightened his jaw. Figures. The counselor turned away. Your existence will be monitored, your connection studied from afar, but you may not remain among us. Nira's eyes filled with light tears. You're afraid? Fear preserves order, he replied. Evan stepped forward. No, fear kills progress. Before they were escorted out, an unexpected sound filled the chamber. Applause. Dozens of alien scientists rose from the lower decks. Clapping softly, a ripple of defiance spread through the crowd. Someone shouted, let them stay. Another cried, The future is theirs, the counselor's voice thundered. Silence. But it was too late. The hall divided, half for exile, half for alliance, and in that chaos something new was born. A movement that would echo across galaxies. The Resonance Initiative. Evan and Nira were led to their shuttle. Guarded but unharmed before the hatch closed, she looked back at the crowd of mixed species watching silently. Someday, she said softly, you'll see what we've started. Evan smiled. They already have. As their shuttle detached from the eminence, the stars unfolded before them. The AI voice chimed one final message through the comms. Exile recorded. Subject classification resonant beings. But somewhere deep inside the ship's code, another message appeared, hidden, unsigned. You are not alone. The shuttle vanished into the blue nebula beyond, leaving behind legends, and though the council tried to erase their names from records, whispers of the human and the Violari spread through every colony. Stories of two beings who proved that even in the cold emptiness of space, emotion was the strongest force in the universe. The shuttle drifted through the blue-white haze of the nebula veil, engines low, lights dimmed. The silence between Evan Reed and Dr. Nira Vale spoke louder than any machine. For the first time since their meeting, there were no guards, no orders, no audience, only the soft hum of freedom. Evan watched the stars slide past the window like falling sparks. Exiled, he murmured. Guess that's better than executed. Nira smiled faintly, her silver eyes glowing in the reflection. Exile is not punishment if we choose what comes next. He leaned back in the pilot chair. Then where to, Professor Viale? She looked at the galactic map, fingers tracing unknown systems, somewhere untouched. Where emotion isn't forbidden. They settled on a quiet world orbiting a dying sun, a forgotten moon once used as a mining post. Now abandoned and silent when their ship landed, dust rose like ancient memories. The air shimmered with faint life energy, the residue of old reactors long dead. It was perfect over the next cycles. They built a small shelter using wrecked outpost modules. Nira repurposed the scanners into a resonance amplifier. Evan repaired solar collectors and set up hydroponic gardens. Together they created something that was neither human nor Violari, a home born from both. At night they sat beneath the twin stars. Nira asked softly, Do you regret it, leaving everything behind? Evan chuckled. I left bureaucracy, fear, and paperwork. I'm fine, she laughed. A sound that made the night feel warmer for her. Laughter was still a strange but beautiful discovery. Weeks passed, then months, but even in exile, their connection never faded. Sometimes, when she was far from him, her mind would still echo with his thoughts. Sometimes he'd wake in the middle of the night, whispering her name, and find her already standing by the door. It wasn't telepathy, it was resonance. Alive, growing stronger each day. One morning, Nira noticed something unusual on the scanners. A faint signal pulsing from deep space, rhythmic, familiar. She called Evan. Look at this frequency. He frowned. That's ours. Our resonance signature. The transmission repeated 3 times, followed by a voice both metallic and warm. This is the Resonance Initiative. We found your signal. We are not alone. Tears shimmered in her eyes. The others, they followed, she whispered. Across the stars, scientists, explorers, even soldiers had begun studying the resonance phenomenon. Some replicated it, some felt it within themselves. The seed they planted had taken root across civilizations. Days later, small ships began arriving one by one. Different species, different worlds, same purpose. They came seeking understanding, not power. Evan stood at the edge of the landing field as the first group approached. A reptilian scholar bowed deeply. We felt your echo, he said. Teach us how to feel it too. Nira's voice was gentle but strong. You cannot be taught to feel. You can only allow yourself to. Her words became the creed of the new era. They called the settlement Harmonia. A living sanctuary where species once divided by fear now lived by resonance. Years passed quietly. Yet the legend of the human and the Violari spread beyond the borders of exile. Children of mixed worlds learned to speak through empathy before words. Starships began using resonance fields instead of weapons to communicate across wars. Even the Galactic Council, in secret, sent observers to study the growing phenomenon they had once condemned. One night, standing beneath the fading sun, Evan turned to Nira. Do you ever think the universe planned this? He asked. She smiled softly. No, Evan, the universe doesn't plan. It listens. He took her hand. Then I'm glad it listened to us. Their forms glowed faintly as their resonance intertwined again, two heartbeats merging into one rhythm, their light reaching toward the dark sky. In that moment they felt every life across the stars, every pulse that had joined their wave. They weren't just human and Vylari anymore. They were the bridge between all who dared to connect. And when the dying sun finally dimmed centuries later, legend said the last flash of its light carried their joined resonance through the galaxy, a whisper that every world could feel deep inside its own heartbeat. Emotion is not weakness, it is evolution. Thus ended the story of Evan Reed and Dr. Nira Vial, not with conquest, not with fear, but with understanding beyond flesh. And wherever the stars still burn, their resonance continues to sing.